And it's time. Hello. Jordan, hello to you too.
I didn't know if that was a hello to me or
It
if it
was
was
a hello to
rhetorical.
everyone.
Hello to chat. Either way, hello. Good to see you back in the white zone. That's not.
Oh my gosh, dude, we've been on the pod for 30 seconds and we just got canceled. Thanks.
Well, you know what? We don't have a formal name for this white background, but I guess we do now.
No, please. We cannot do this. We cannot call it the white zone. I'm wearing a bone shirt. Thank you very much.
Excuse me.
Oh, I cannot believe you just said that. Oh, see, Darkooth wants his money back. Oh, this has been bad. All right. Here we're gonna start the stream over, everybody. All right.
All right, let's try that again.
You know what? We're just gonna start again. All right. All right, Jordan. 3, 2, 1. Welcome to an uneventful episode of Hunter Talk. 2-0 weekend, guys. We're feeling grand.
Yeah. Is this a white background or is it just me? Dang it. Oh,
boy, don't you know how much more comfortable I feel? Oh, Jordan. All right. Now that we can't have a podcast anymore, thanks to our sponsors.
Yep.
Oh gosh. Elgato for providing the lighting and the capture equipment. And happy 4th of July, everybody. Here's my tribute, rip it. Because America.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't believe the start we just got off to. Genesis, thank you for being here, by the way. Just a new guy. I'm sorry that this is your first impression of us. That was horrible.
It's not usually how we start the show.
No, not at all. Okay.
Special week.
Time to talk about some LCS topics, right? I can't focus anymore. I can't do this. Okay. All right. Whew. Okay. All right. Okay. We had a very great weekend, everybody.
Yes.
2-0.
Fantastic. Happy birthday, Ssumday.
Happy birthday, Ssumday. I am back in my home setup. This is my home court. I have home court advantage, which is worth like, a few percentage points on the probabilities on the money lines. And it feels great because Prophet Cole did not come through this weekend. I predicted the 1-1 because I thought surely we would lose the TL. What I forgot, and what Jordan did not forget, as he correctly predicted the 2-0 weekend, is that we actually now own Team Liquid. We are actually the owners. It's not paid by Steve, it's paid by Thieves.
There you go. I like it.
They are our team now. Recently, they haven't had super good luck against us. And Jordan, maybe after watching this game transpire, which was a real banger, a real barn burner.
Ooh.
Maybe it's because we beat them at their own dang game. What were your thoughts watching the 20-minute death drought?
I mean, okay, look, it's actually funny. I'll go back before we go live and I'll watch the Kazaa LOL highlights, shortened, condensed version of our games just to remind myself what happened. And this one was 3 minutes and 41 seconds. And I'm pretty sure that included draft, like usually though, they're like 7 minutes. Yeah. But the up until that first Baron fight, there were like 2 different clips and it was just the towers falling. So
what happened in this game?
Yeah. Look,
answer nothing.
I got to tell you, I didn't hate this game. I didn't despise this game. I didn't have a visceral reaction to it. I mean, it was a slow, controlled, methodical beating of TL. Like we got the dub. And if I'm a neutral, Is this the game that I'm glad I caught as compared to like the EG CLG or whatever? I think that was it.
Yes.
No.
Dang.
I wouldn't have watched this one over that one. But from a fan's perspective, this is a huge win. Like, this is a very quality win, and we did it in a way that it didn't feel dice rolly. You know, it wasn't like we just went out and gave it a great shot and saw what happened. So I left that feeling pretty good.
Yeah, isn't it interesting that it seemed to be one of the storylines of the entire weekend was like this game where nothing happened for 20 minutes and it was so boring and so bad. Yeah. And it's like, you know what? Like, we're in a new era now, right? And people who are stuck in the old ways can't see it because, like, look, if it's an LCK match that plays out this way, people are proud of this. They're like, yeah, this is the way League of Legends should be played. No mistake game, you know, don't be like coin flippy with it, whatever. Yeah. Or even in our league, if it's a team like Team Liquid, people are like fine with this. If that's their play style, you know, it's controlled, confident play style. But when 100T does it, it's boring, right?
Oh, this team just hopeless, pointless. Why watch, Cole?
Yeah, it's like what is going to make these people happy? I mean, we know the answer is nothing. Like, nothing will make them happy. But look, if you are hating on Her to Thieves for this game, it's because there's no other option. It's just like bias, and it's like I'm set in how I think about teams and leagues from the past. You know what I mean? This game was played. Yes, it was not quite as interesting, but it was played smartly and calculated, and that's a kind of a big deal for us because look, we continued our pattern of having like kind of a significant deficit early on in this game.
Right.
And yeah, I know like they had GP on their team or whatever, but it was like 2,400 gold. Kind of like, what was that? Like 10 minutes in, I think, when I took that snapshot or something. Like it was, and I think it was more like 15 actually, now that I look at it. But it was a significant gold deficit. And this is something that has been plaguing us, this split. But the difference is complete confidence in what we were doing and not straying from that plan. I mean, it wasn't sexy, but I'm proud of this win. And it came against a quality opponent.
Yep. TL, very good.
Like, if you look at this game through the lens of like 100 Thieves discussion over the past little bit, it corrects a lot of what's wrong, right? Like I said, early game deficit, sure. But let's look at something like, say, Abbedagge's matchup, okay?
Yep.
So the story on Abbedagge right now, right, is that his laning's weak and, you know, he's really struggling. He's really having a bad split. So he goes up against the NA GOAT, right? Bjerg, who, to my chagrin, has been playing excellent since his return, right? Like, I did not think he would be this good. I just figure there's a point where you stop playing League as much, you come back, you're a little bit old, and it passes you by. But he has looked very, very good. And Abbedagge and Bjerg basically got off to like a lane marathon where they're CSing at incredibly high rates. You know, they're up like over 11 CS a minute during this game, and Abbedagge, the weak laner, is sitting there keeping up with that and like not really having a problem.
Well, I don't know, Cole, because I looked at the CS at one point and it was 310 to 329. That's 19 CSD. That's almost, I don't know, a few hundred gold that he's down.
He did, and he got counterpicked too, didn't he? Now that I think about it.
Bjerg? Or I think Abbedagge.
Abbedagge got counterpicked.
Yeah.
I believe.
Oh, he did?
I think. Let me pull that up while you keep saying what you were saying.
I wasn't really saying anything.
Oh, dang.
I'll say something now. I'll get to something. Like this was the I had this thought. That pro to pro segment, you talk about like how everybody's talking about how his lane.
Yes.
Boy, was that uncomfortable.
That was super uncomfortable. So if you didn't see this, I didn't see it the first go around. But High has a new segment where it called Pro to Pro that they do in between matches.
I like that segment.
Yeah.
In general,
Where
I think it's a cool idea.
Yeah, where they look at plays on the telestrator and High kind of asks them questions about the plays as they go, tosses in a couple other questions, and in this case, he asked a doozy. Let me pull it up. Actually, I wrote this down. He basically said like the talk around you recently has been that your lane phase is very weak and you haven't been doing a good job in lane. And he said, "Do you have anything to say about that?"
Yeah.
And
Silence.
he said, first of all, he was like, he made kind of a shocked face at High. So he definitely was not prepped for this question. But he said, I don't care what people think about my laning.
Yeah.
And then he said, I know I'm going to do well.
Right.
And then it got real awkward after that. Because it was like, and then I was like, are you sure you don't have anything else to say here about laning coming?
You got nothing else to say?
Maybe you can say something so I feel a little less bad about what I just asked.
Yeah, it was that was an interesting segment.
Yeah, that was very awkward. But Chad mentality from Abbedagge, which you got to appreciate because this man, as we talked about, he's been the victim of focus and targeting from the other teams this split. They see that as a weakness, as a strategy to exploit. They've pressed on him. They've camped his lane in a lot of games. And he has not had a good split so far as a result until this weekend, where he shakes it off. And like, if you don't have that kind of mentality, I'm not sure you can keep things together, and maintain a high standard of play for yourself. And he does. So even if you think it's weird for him to be like, no, I don't care what people say, I'm going to be good. Because sometimes be like, all right, you're a little in denial, about how things have gone so far. But nevertheless, he looked very good this weekend. And would you rather have someone be like, I don't know what's wrong with me?
You're right. It's really hard.
I don't know why I'm here, So kudos to him, man. Kudos to him for sticking through that.
Yeah. I think he's had an interesting arc. Like I think back, he has been probably like he went too hard in the paint. If you think about that interview where he was just letting everything fly,
Yeah. Totally.
That was a step probably too far. And then I think he's also like, hey, he's had to eat some crow, and it's not. I don't think he doesn't seem worse for it. Like I think it's been all a part of the development of him. He's a young guy. I think it's easy to forget, and still relatively early in his career. So I think for me, the thing that matters the most and that I'm most encouraged to see is that he still is able to bring it at a very high level. And we see glimpses of it, flashes of it in different games. Week 1, the story was lane was rough, team fight was great, had some huge plays for us. I think in week 2, I think was more like that just wasn't great. And then now this week feels a lot more like, okay, this at his best, he can still hang with anybody in lane, and he can make plays that can turn a game, whether that's defensively or I think he had some really good aggressive plays as well in Orianna, which was awesome to see because that's a champion that is always relevant, and for him to still be able to pull it out. When honestly, it feels off meta right now. I know that's kind of a silly thing to say about Orianna, but you're not seeing a ton of it. I feel like I don't watch every league around the world every day, but it's not one that we've seen him play yet. So, it was good to see that come back in this game for sure.
Yeah. And lest we forget, this is what we were missing for so long with this team, right? We seem to want to execute lots of things in other lanes in previous iterations of this team, but we struggled having a mid lane that was stable enough to enable us to do those things.
I got to make a couple points specific to just the week to week progression here. And it's that there are actually a couple of plays that were very important where, and these were plays that we've seen him get caught out in a lot in the last split. And it's just plays around mid or at the start of a fight. He'll get caught in a bad position and he'll get killed. And then we are supremely disadvantaged for whatever follows, right? And in this game, he actually has, he's not even mispositioned so much. He's just coming through river, right? Like he's walking up river to mid, and Santorin sees him on Udyr, starts chasing, and then they pour everything into it, right? So you get a Hans flash over the wall. He ulties core forward. So at this point, they're committing tons to trying to get a pick on him. And then core also hits a flash ulti. So right there, they've blown so many cooldowns. And he lives. He just walks out of the whole fight. You know, and the team backs him up, of course. But like he played it really well. And he had another one, a good escape, where he hit a reactive shockwave, chunked somebody down to half health, and just kind of strolled out. So those are the kinds of plays where we've seen him be punished pretty bad recently. And so I thought it was reassuring to see that he, even in those situations, it felt like, oh, he's learning, he's making progress here. Clearly, he looked at some tape to see, all right, if I'm caught here, like I think last week there was the Azir play, right, where he just got caught, he blew a stopwatch, and it still wasn't enough time.
Yeah.
Who he tried to jump forward on the TK to save him, but he couldn't.
Mm-hmm.
This just felt like the complete flip side of that same coin, where it's like, oh, and now we have the upper hand in the fight because they blew everything trying to get the kill.
Though, interestingly enough, I'm thinking that who he'd used the Lulu ult to ensure that he lived through that, but I could be misremembering.
I don't think he did on that one because he used it. I think he used it right after on closer. As he
did he? Okay, cool. Then that's even better. Your point is even more solid. Congratulations to you.
Thank you.
But yeah, and we knew how to play around that in this game too. Like everything we did, it seemed to be very sound. You know, the macro stuff was just way better. And like before the third Drake fight, for instance, I mean, like, look, you are on the verge of giving over 3 Drakes in a row to Team Liquid. You know, you don't want them on soul point that early. So what did they do? They took the second Herald and they dropped it in mid lane, like, I don't know, 10 to 15 seconds before the dragon spawned. Cleared out the lane and let it roll. And you know what? Team Liquid had to make a choice, and they chose to ignore that.
Right.
We moved right in. We won the fight. We got the dragon. I think we actually, if I'm remembering right, I think we got the dragon, and then like closer had some insane peel to keep everybody safe.
Yeah.
And we got out of there, like in, out, job done. Meanwhile, Herald takes tier 1 turret and gets second charge on 2. Right?
Yeah. Yep.
So it's like, not only did we secure the dragon, even if we didn't secure the dragon in that, we would have punished them pretty heavily with that turret take and the second charge. So it's like very sound and good decision there. Very intentional with the timing. And then we saw them do like a very similar play later where it's like, all right, we have a calculated macro play. This is when they actually like they've already gotten their third dragon, so we're about to fight for soul. We started the Baron, forced their TP out.
Yeah. Yep.
And then it took them a while, and we just kind of stayed on Baron, secured it, and then won a 3-1 fight. And then all of a sudden, guess what? The early lead that you had, it's gone. And we have Baron, and we're about to like go in and wreck you, you know? Yeah. So that's not, we don't have the best reputation for stuff like that. We've had points where our macro is good, but like usually we're not as calculated and strategic about things like that, especially against, as Crockpot's pointing out in chat, a core JJ guided Team Liquid team. But dang, it worked very well. As you're pointing out, Team Liquid barely got anything done this game. Yeah. So what was it? It's 2 kills and 2 turrets taken.
2 turrets. That's what they had to show for it.
Yeah.
So let me tell you, you don't watch the game, and I tell you, we're up against TL, competing for top 3 positioning, and we get the win, and it's pretty close to, you know, it's 2 kills, 2 turrets. It's not a perfect game, but it's not far from a perfect game. Are you happy with that outcome? Like, in what world do you feel like, I don't really know if I like that? Like, why? Why wouldn't you like that? And
Because it wasn't fun.
it wasn't very exciting. Um, just to really drive this point home, look at our team comp: Lulu, Orianna, Aphelios, Ornn, Wukong. I'm not an analyst, a League of Legends analyst, Cole. What does this team comp want to do? It would like to team fight later in the game when it can win and get objectives. I'm just guessing, you know. I guess it could be a team comp that wants to fight at every opportunity it gets. I mean, we saw Ssumday the week before. You know, he took 3 1v1s in the top lane on Ornn, so why not? But it's just like you don't get it both ways. You don't get to pick a team comp that it has a better time to fight in the game and it's later in the game, and then deride the team who has it for playing it to its strengths, right? It's not like, oh, it was pretty boring early. I was like, well, yeah, you had Aphelios, and and then he hit an ult at one point in the game, and he probably did 3,000 damage, and then the fight was over and the game was over. That's what the team is supposed to do. So personally, I just don't get it. Why you would? I mean, if these champions are in the game, then I think you have to give a team a chance to play them the way we did, because I would argue, and the results would say, I think we did a pretty good job of it, and we got a win, which is what we went out to do, you know. So I think the whole thing is silly, and then sometimes we'll take Lucian Nami, and we're gonna fight. We're gonna fight a lot more, and we're gonna fight a lot more often, and that's cool too, right? Because we also, or we'll take a Kali, and there are different versions of this. But looking at this team comp and saying, well, boring team, what are they doing? I think you're missing the point.
Yeah. Right? And I think we're kind of coming from a place of whiny frustration, right? Because of how things have gone for us with the podcasts that cover LCS and the analyst desk and everything.
Always.
We're not usually the heralded team. Of the contenders, we're usually the least favorite or least picked or whatever. I was listening to GLXP. Did you catch this segment where?
I think so, yeah.
Where Jat was basically saying he's not convinced by 100 Thieves because of the inconsistency. It's their ups and their downs, and he's not convinced. And then Raz, I'm listening to Raz talk about what makes Team Liquid better than 100 Thieves. And he's basically describing the way that we just beat Team Liquid.
Uh-huh.
And that's what makes Team Liquid better than us. It's
right.
It's just kind of wild. And look, both of those guys I love so much.
Yeah.
I've said that 100 times. But I'm just it does feel a little strange to hear the analysis about how Team Liquid plays such a controlled, smart style, with high talent players, and then to have us just beat them in that very manner right before you did your podcast. So,
right.
It's just one of those things. You're never given any credit until you win, as if you're not one of the heritage perennial brands. Right?
But even then, I mean, win what? What do we have to win at this point?
Look, we got lots of praise when we won LCS last year.
Yeah,
we did indeed.
Yeah. So I guess a question I'm asking: winning a game against the team that is better than you, I'm doing air quotes, isn't enough. At what consistency do we have to win the LCS for people to believe that this team is actually good?
Dude, you don't even have to make it LCS wide,
because it's 50% right now. That's our rate. That's our win rate over the last 2 splits, and we're still
100% finals rate. Small sample size theater.
Yeah,
but look,
exactly.
no. You don't even have to make it about the league. Just make it about Team Liquid. I don't have the stats in front of me, but I think the last time we played Team Liquid, I went into the record. Here's the last 18 months of us playing Team Liquid. We overwhelmingly beat them. Yeah. It's it's not like this is a one-off game where we beat Team Liquid. We've beat them over and over again.
I think we have like a 5-2 best of 1 record against them.
And if you go back, you just keep going back, man. It may bear out. But
Yeah.
and then you could include if you include the playoffs, like the finals series where we 3-0'd them embarrassingly, or we reverse swept them last split. It's like we beat Team Liquid, okay? Like that's what we do now. So I don't know.
But I'm not sure. I'm just not sure.
But I'm not sure. They're not, but I feel like Team Liquid's better. Okay. I'm done complaining. I'm done being whiny about that.
I probably got some more left.
Well, I'm taking my shirt and going back in. All right. Let's talk Immortals.
Let's do it.
Okay. Happy birthday to Ssumday. We now have a memorable legendary game for Ssumday on his birthday, the Akali game. So what was in your heart when you saw that Akali was the pick for Ssumday?
Joy, glee. I love watching high level Akali. I think it's one of the most fun champions to watch. It's the champion I play the most. It's just a cool, and I understand people absolutely hate to play against it, and I get it. I understand why. But man, and he's good at it. Like he's Abbedagge level Akali player. I'm not even kidding. Like, and yeah, a shade of luck, as any good Akali game has in it, leaving with probably sub 10 HP. But man, he was styling. You could tell he was feeling himself. It was good to watch.
On his dang birthday. When I saw the pick, I was like, clear eyes, full heart, can't lose. The Ssumday carry thing, right, has been like an ongoing constant topic for fans, because over the years it's like looked like the solution when it wasn't the solution, and then it has not looked like the solution a couple times when it was the solution. So we can never really get on like solid ground with what we're supposed to do with somebody. So when he locked it in, it's like, all right, now we get to see where he's at with that. Shouting out Raz one more time, because Raz said like he wasn't sure if the Ssumday carry thing is that because Tryndamere the champion, or is it because Ssumday? And then this game was evidence in favor of Ssumday. The guy has been playing so well for like a year now.
Yep.
And I mean, it's kind of weird. It kind of feels like he's in an as good of a place as he's ever been on 100 Thieves.
Agreed.
And he's been with the team literally the entire existence.
Yeah.
And he's had some very high highs. So he is just like, he's got to be the most reliable player in the LCS right now, right?
I think so.
Is there like him and Core JJ maybe are the two?
I mean, if you were to average it over time, like there was that dip in reliability, but that it turned out to be truly an anomaly. Like, and then if you average it even longer, it's just a blip, because he is the guy. He just always shows up.
Let's not forget how he forces people out of the league. Goodbye Alfari, goodbye Summit. Goodbye Bwipo this year.
Oh, are you predicting a Bwipo
maybe
departure?
Who knows?
Oh.
Who knows? Could be. But yeah, so congratulations to Ssumday on the pop off. He finished, where did he finish? He finished 6-0-8 on the Akali, and it felt like 10 more kills than that, honestly, with how good it was. And it's against Immortals. You're allowed to have fun doing that, right?
Yeah. I think that's a big part of it.
Couple highlights, right? We had the flash handshake from Huhi to make sure he locked up that double kill after that sick fight. And then the one you mentioned where he gets 2 in the team fight in bot and barely gets out. I like to say it was calculated. His Zonias during that was so good.
Yeah. And here's the thing. He had an E2 ready. He could have gone back in and secured the triple kill. He didn't, because he's smart. But the way that play ended up going, he actually could have gone back in, got a kill, and survived. And
Yeah.
still left.
Yeah.
But he's look, he's a wise player now. 26 years old. He knows his team had his back. They're going to clean up. No need to go back in. But he could have been 7-0-8.
That dude
Or
is 7-on-7. Yeah.
Yeah.
That dude is so good. And I'm so happy for him that he gets credit for that now. That's the one thing that he does get credit for is his level of play now. Oh, wait, they picked Inspired for Player of the Week again.
Cole,
on his
Saturday
birthday
was so boring. He played Ornn, Cole. You're immediately ineligible because Ornn, as we know, can't get kills and can't be a threat on the Rift. It's not possible. Sorry, how many kills did he have on Ornn this week?
Well,
he had 3.
3. Yeah, 3, 0, and 5.
More than TL had kills. Okay, sorry. He's so good at Ornn. I think he's the best Ornn in the league. No question.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't want to hate on Inspired because Inspired has been playing really well, but he already won it like a couple weeks ago, and they played 2 like bottom of the barrel teams this week. You know what I mean? And on his birthday, Ssumday popped off on the Akali. It's a narrative award in the first place, right?
Yeah.
Actually, let's launch this listener take from Graph, because Graph was mad about this too. Graph says, how many times can Inspired get MVP before it's acceptable to start a riot? and there's a little bit of a back and forth in my mentions over this, because I retweeted Graph's thing about like, doesn't make sense that Inspired got it over Ssumday. Look, and again, I just want to reiterate for everybody so they know we're being objective about this. I get Inspired was a deserving candidate. But again, it's a narrative for the story, for the fun kind of award, right? On his birthday, he completes the 2-0 weekend against better opposition, roughly the same game impact as Inspired, but against higher quality opponent. Give him the dang thing. When are we going? When is this going to happen? Summit won MVP after being ushered out of the split while Ssumday was popping off. And Ssumday did this. You know what I mean? Like, oh my gosh, when are they going to learn?
They won't.
When
they finally start the LCS Hall of Fame, he'll get 2% of the vote on the first ballot, and then he'll be dropped. He won't be a Hall of Famer. And then you know what they'll say? Played too much Ornn. Sorry, ineligible.
Oh my gosh.
How many times did he win, Cole, the championship?
Ssumday?
Yeah, that's what they'll say.
How many rings? How many rings does he have?
Only 4.
Okay.
Sorry, only 7.
He was on that sick Immortals team, right? Before 100 Thieves too.
I thought it was Dig. Wasn't it Dig?
Was it Dig? Oh, my bad. Yeah, I might be trolling. Anyway, he's been good. First ballot Hall of Famer at LCS. Let's go.
Yep.
Yeah, it was Dig. Okay, thanks. All right. Back to our conversation. So we talked about Ssumday. Happy birthday again for like the 100th time. Abbedagge, just want to mention in passing, again, over 10 CS a minute. Great lane against somebody who hogs resources so bad that they took time to point that out on the broadcast. They're like, in Power of Evil, he's, I don't want to say it harshly, but he's one of those players that's basically like, you better give me all your resources or else. Openly said that.
Yeah.
Openly said that on the broadcast. And it's like, there's Abbedagge. Just vibing. And PoE, hold on, this was this match, right? Let me check my notes. That's what I do. Yeah. He got PoE got his lane reset like 3 times against Abbedagge just to keep pace. Right? And Abbedagge was just vibing. I loved it. So I wanted to make sure we put that on the table for everybody who was saying Abbedagge needs to be replaced.
Yeah.
He clearly was like, all right, this week, I'm not going to lose lane.
Yeah.
He went in. Okay, and then I had a question for you.
Okay.
We have seen some things from Closer, and what we're starting to see is some Wukong.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
How are you feeling about Closer Wukong? Does this belong like in his elite champion pool now? Like, I don't know. I didn't love us picking Wukong when we first saw it.
Mm-hmm.
He's starting to
Growing on you?
really look good on the Wukong, in my opinion.
Yeah.
How are you
No, I
feeling
like
about
it.
this?
I like the champ for him.
He's played 4 Wukong games out of the 7.
Yeah.
He's won 3 of them. Watching him peel off Team Liquid during that dragon fight was insane, but he also just seems to find the perfect team fight moments.
Yeah.
So is it like Lee Sin, Viego, Wukong, or is it Lee Sin, Viego, Wukong?
I'll offer you a tier first. I think it's in his top tier. And I consider Closer's top tier to be champions that don't diminish his ability to play at like a first team LCS level. Because he picks, I'm thinking about one, and he was played in this game. Thankfully, it wasn't us. Freaking Volibear. Like, that is not a top tier Closer champ. It's that the champion is not deserving to be piloted by Closer. Just scratch it. So it feels clearly different from that. I think like Udyr as well is a champ. I don't think he plays it, but I would hate to see him on Udyr. I just don't like it.
I don't think Udyr in general is good. In fact, when Santorin picked it, I made a note. I was like, I think this is going to be great for us. I hope I'm not wrong, but I think it's going to be great for us. Udyr just doesn't look convincing yet, and maybe it'll get there. Maybe Udyr will be a pick when people like get used to playing around it on pro stage more. But
I think the reason
I
like Wukong for Closer is it has great gank pressure, right? With the kind of the cloak, call it whatever you want, like the more of the stealth aspect getting in. For me, it's the insane teamfight utility and some good damage potential on the board too. So I think it's of those, right? Like Lee Sin, you can definitely make the argument that it has, but he's got very specific teamfight utility.
Yeah.
But we saw him use this Wukong so well, where he he just completely upended some of these team fights, like knock up on 3 people twice in one team fight, dealing some considerable damage. Like, it just made it so much easier for us. So very different value proposition when you think about his skill set and what he can do, but I don't hate it. And I think when you put it into a composition that's already geared toward team fighting, I think there's a lot to like.
Yeah, to me, it feels like we can move this up into this belongs in his group of champions that he should play this split, and I'm cool with that because I'm just confident in the way he uses it, which took me a while to get there because I kept noting when he plays Wukong, he gets like double scuttled like every time, and he's always down like 2.5 camps in the first part of the game. But by golly, if he doesn't pull it off, I'm good on that. And so now I'm fully in the let's go camp when Wukong is picked for us. Whereas at the beginning of the split, that was definitely not the case.
I mean, I remember when the split started, that was the conversation. It's very meta, right? Super powerful right now. So I think the other thing to like about it is it's a new champ that we were able to pick up and add pretty seamlessly into our overall strategy book.
Yeah. Well, you had a note about playstyle in this game. Did you want to head there for a second before we wrap? Or wrap games, I should say.
I think for me, it feels like, and this is kind of going back to the Ssumday carry thing. Hey, look, we also just got to say, we haven't talked about FBI or Huhi at all throughout these 2 games. I thought they had great weekends. It was the Jinx Aphelios show again.
Yeah. But Jinx Aphelios.
There's a reason he looked great. FBI specifically, and then Huhi also was in fine form. So it's probably less than they deserve, but I didn't want to not mention them at all.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys. It's just, lots of stuff
Yeah.
happened this weekend.
Yeah. Like they had a super clean weekend, and there's a lot to like. Especially FBI basically winning the TL game with that ult that he hit right after leaving Berserk.
They both had 1 death weekends.
That's a good weekend.
That's a good weekend.
That's what you like to see.
It is.
Boring. Really boring, but 1 death is good. So this is I just thought this is kind of another way to play, and it comes back to the Ssumday carry thing. I think Ssumday's carry mentality is I will be here if you need me, right? It's like you hit the Ssumday signal and I'm on it. Some of his most memorable games are him just completely taking over a game. And it's good that we don't have to have him do that every weekend, because I think people start preparing for not that. And then he's like, oh, I got a pocket pick for that. Hit me a Kali, hit me Lucian. Let me just win this game by myself. It's at the very least, it's good to continue to do that periodically so that teams can't completely forget about. And it's like, oh, don't worry about Ssumday. He hasn't done that in 2 years. It's like, no. He can still do that at will when the pieces all fall into place in the right way. So he's got it. And I just feel like gone in my mind is a conversation about, or the question about, can Ssumday be our carry? I know he can. The thing that is, I think, a more interesting question is, like, what are the right circumstances for him to actually jump into that position?
He kind of feels like you have that one like really great senior coworker who's like their stuff is tight, and you don't usually hear from them, but when you need to hear from them, they like deliver immediately. But it's like they're so good, and you try not to bother them. That's kind of what he feels like to me.
Yeah. Exactly.
In fact, let me pull up another take / question while we're on this topic. Bamatide88 says, we ran Ssumday 1v5 back in the day. It wasn't enough. Could we go back to Ssumday 1v5 knowing the pieces around him are so much better at every position and the shot calling is improved? And when I read that, I was like, I don't think we've taken on this question in this manner, but I really like the framing of it. It's like, look, we had the weapon ready to go back then, but like the rest of the facility wasn't running the way it should. And now everything's like green light, right? So maybe now is the time to run it back. It's kind of like the stream title tonight, where it's like new, old, and improved. It's like, well, we've got the new pieces around Ssumday to play the old way, the old style that we like to play with him carrying. And is that an improvement? And obviously in this match it was. So maybe, Reaper and the boys will see that result and be like, maybe we can do some more things here.
I think absolutely. It's one that I hope we continue to do it periodically. I don't want it to become our identity,
Yeah.
I will stand by this. I think the best identity you can have is a strong team fighting team. I really do. Because it's the game will always have 5 champions per side. A lot can change to hit a position hard. The meta changes to the game, changes to the map, changes to TPs. Like, all of that can change. What seems to be the most reliable thing about League of Legends over the last 5 years since we've been watching is if you have 5 players who are good and you get champions that work together, you've got a good shot at it.
Yeah.
And you don't have to look that far to see teams that have been built around a player. None of those teams are still built around that player, right? So those things tend to come and go more quickly as the meta changes. But it sure doesn't hurt to be able to do that as needed. And I think that's how I'd respond to that one.
Nice. That's a very measured take. But Jordan, 100 Thieves is so boring that we should play this way all the time, because that's the only way it's going to be interesting to people, right?
We got to get those numbers back up for the LCS. Come on. They're counting on us.
Right. But as Militime's pointing out in chat, it's like now with this level of talent that we've had for the last 3 splits inclusive, we have more options. We're more flexible. There are more, and there are more solutions when we have problems, right? I think that's an underlooked at thing too, is like, a lot of times we would have a certain problem and it's like, well, here are the available solutions. We don't qualify for most of them. Now it's like we can rework things in a lot of ways, which is nice. So
like how many of the solutions were prerequisite strong mid laner, and we're just like, well, let's just keep trying something, I guess.
But Jordan Abbedagge is bad. Get rid of him. Trade him.
We should trade him. You're right. You can
look. Let's be reasonable and mature about this. He looked bad. He looked bad at the beginning of the split. The eye test was not good. I know there are mitigating factors to that. We talked about how often he was camped. Eye test wise, though, it was still a little rough. If he can stay at or near this level for us, I'm good. We're gonna win. I'm good.
Yeah,
like we'll win the LCS. I'm just gonna say that now. If he stays at or around this level, you can be, you're not gonna have 12 CS per minute every game or whatever, right? But I'm totally good with that.
That's a really good point. But if he is hitting at this level, who beats us in a best of 5, best of 7,
best of 5?
Either.
Let's just go to 7 for the heck of it, so we can beat Team Liquid 4-0 instead of 3-0.
That's it. But yeah, I'll tell you what isn't right there, Cole, and it's the general conversation about 100 Thieves. Nobody is thinking about us in the finals. And if I had to bet, if we keep playing like this, I think there's a very good chance we show up again. And then people will be surprised. They'll have to check their notes again. 3 finals in a row? What?
Do we have to admit it now? A couple of people are referencing motivation for the team. I'm going to hit that a little bit later, so stick around.
Stick around.
Look, we wrapped up the games. We wanted to make sure we sung the praises of Abbedagge for this great week that he's had. Did you have any other general stuff you wanted to go over before we jump into takes?
I don't think so. I just briefly, I'll just say a lot of conversation out there about how our team isn't good. We've talked about this. We're boring to watch, whatever. I just can't shake this feeling that it's almost like the majority of people who are in the league scene and who watch league regularly are rooting against it, which is so strange to me.
Rooting against the LCS?
The LCS and league in general.
Yeah.
Like, would just, it's like the most, I don't know if it's schadenfreude or what, but it's like, oh, they're just so bad. Yes. Oh, they're so bad at league. It's amazing. It's great. And Riot can't make a good game. Yes. So I don't know, man. But I've been enjoying watching League of Legends. And I know it's not a popular opinion to have right now, but I think it's a cool game and I still like to watch it. And I think we're pretty good. And so I will say I'm excited to see. And I said this a couple weeks ago, maybe last week. I think the durability patch, if that's what we're calling it still, is like, I'm still favorable on it overall. I think it gives chance for people to actually play a little bit more of a team game. So, just want to put that out there that it does feel like sometimes the conversation turns towards just like the wallowing in the bad feelings. And I think we are so often part of that it's hard to separate it from conversation about us,
Yeah, like we as in 100 Thieves are part of that.
Yeah.
And it's really annoying because I guess it's just what happens when you have immature people who build followings around being critical and pessimistic and whatever. And look, there is absolutely nothing wrong with bringing up weaknesses in teams and how they play and pointing out where they need to improve. Nothing wrong with that. Mm-hmm. But it's like, listening to some of these guys, like, do you not get tired of hearing yourself just complain about things or like say, oh, that's so bad, it's so bad, it's so bad all the time? Like, do you honestly, like, that satisfies you? That gives you the dopamine hit you're after? Because that's crazy to me. And I watched some of the face check episode that Degon did for G4 TV. G4 YouTube with LS and I Will Dominate. And I was like, dang, these guys are so annoying to listen to for like more than a minute, because all it's like, oh, yeah, they're bad. They're so bad. Man, this league is bad and they play bad and the champs are bad and the items are bad and the players are bad and the league is bad. So it's all bad. And it's like, dang.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, like, there is a difference. So we always talk about, like, you know, oh, the LCS, it always seems like it's kind of in trouble. Always seems like viewership's kind of down. You know, how do we build it up? How do we do this? So these same people discuss these questions as if they're not actively tearing down what's being built all the time. Okay. Right. And I realized there is a difference. I do what I always do, and I compare it to traditional sports. And I was thinking about, like, college football and NFL. So college football is huge and loved by many. It's not the NFL, really? Which is like the most popular league in the United States by a lot.
Yeah.
Like it's not a contest on popularity, right? But college football is really big. The national championship for college football rates very highly, right? The difference is when people talk about college football and analyze college football, they don't consistently talk about how bad it is compared to the NFL. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, they're not always ripping it to shreds. They're just focusing on, within the context of the league, how things are going, right?
Yep.
And it's like, if the NFL is like the LCK or the LPL and the LCS is college league, it's like, look, then just don't spend all of your time ripping it down. It clearly affects the players. I'm going to say that forever. Yep. Like, if you are a 17, 18-year-old player from NA and you're going to Worlds, like, you're going to be a really rare person who's not, like, going to perform under pressure and have the yips a little bit. I thought we saw that from Danny, you know, at MSI.
Yeah. Right.
So it's like you're in everybody's heads, because all they ever do is watch former pros and popular analysts, content creators talk about how bad the league they're playing in is constantly. Right. And when we look at it, we're looking at a difference of like 1%, you know, between the leagues. That difference does end up being meaningful when you extrapolate it and, you know, you play out the games and stuff. But it's not like it's night and day, like totally different, and they're can never compare the two or whatever. Like, you know, it's just like, stop spending all of your time ripping this down if you're going to care about it.
Yeah.
I'm so tired of this.
I think it's a couple thoughts. I do think that there is like a perverse relation between the fact that this is the algorithm encourages, and like I'm sure that their views are better. I mean, I think the video you're talking about, like, the headline was about TSM. Why? Because that's what people click on. That's what people want to watch. So,
and by the way, the quote of the headline was, "No one cares about TSM content anymore."
Yeah. So like, look, I get it. It's a game. You have to play the game. They're in this, right, in a way that we're not, certainly. Like, we have no skin in the game.
Yeah.
We don't depend on this for our livelihood. I get it. It's totally different, and that's fine. I can respect that. You've got to find ways to get people to watch your stuff. And the numbers, look, if league numbers are down, you guarantee they're feeling that. Like, if there are fewer people watching League of Legends, the game, there are fewer people watching League of Legends content. It's just, that's how it has to be, how it is. I'm sure that is something they're experiencing too. But I agree with you. The thing that here's a couple thoughts. One, and we may never know if this would actually play out this way. If the West, I'll just say the West broadly, but no, I'll be more specific. If the LCS ever won MSI or Worlds, the very first thing they would say is, weak competition this year. You know, this is more commentary on the other teams. And you know how I know this, by the way? because this is what people said when we won. It, and like how quickly we went back to irrelevant team, doesn't matter, boring to watch, not very good. That's what would happen. Nothing would change. None of this would validate the LCS. We would still be everyone's most favorite hated league, and it wouldn't matter. So it won't change. It won't change. Maybe if we win it like 4 or 5 times, if we hit like LCK, but I guarantee even then it'd be like, I just don't understand how Korea could fall off this way. It's not because we're good. It's got to be because other people are bad.
Yeah.
Another thing, and that's did I lose it? Maybe I have. I don't know.
Sorry.
It's just a bummer.
Yeah, it is a big bummer, and I just wish, again, I'll say it again, like, you can't profess to want to build something up if all you do is tear it down. So if you are, one of these creators or these analysts or former pros, whatever, try laying some bricks instead of like disassembling,
Yep.
Drives me insane. Okay, so you know what? Maybe you see that 100 talk that's right in the middle here? Maybe just replace that with a cloud during that kind of segment, and we can do old man yells at cloud.
There you go. There you go.
For the thing. I think I'll have to do that in a future episode of the pod.
Yep.
Okay, let's plow through the rest of these listener takes then.
Yep.
Mont says, it seems like, and Mont, by the way, Mont is often first because he responds to like my call for takes within like 2 minutes. He says, it seems like we took all the people saying 100T has no macro or can't play late game to heart. And now we are a full late game team rather than our explosive early game style that we used to have. And to kind of like combine that with a take from BC, he asked, is it 2018 again? 100T are 8th in early game rating and 1st in mid-late rating, according to Oracle's Elixir. And BC asks, has time reverted to a time when 100T were just the late game scaling team and winning on macro? Is Abbedagge reincarnated? Find out soon on our next episode of 100 Talk Pod. He should have said 100T Talk Pod, but yeah.
We'll give him a pass.
Yeah, it's so going back to the takes, I don't think that this team changes what they're doing or what their approach is based on what is being said about them. But I do think that they get the chip on their shoulder from it, right? Like, I don't think Reaper and Papa Smithy are like browsing the Reddit takes and be like, you know what? They're right. Why don't we focus on this instead? So I don't think it's like that they're changing in response to anything. But maybe they've just found that on this patch with this configuration with these champions, playing late game is a little bit better for us. We clearly are sacking the early game pretty often. Like, we are continuously down 1,500, 2,500 in the early game against whatever opponent, basically. Immortals was a little bit different, but that is Immortals. They didn't even have a fire alarm to bail them out this week. So I don't know, but it does feel like 2018. It does feel like 2018 in a way, if we're going to continue to win like this. Anything else, or should we run to the next one?
I had something again. I've just keep going. It'll come back to me. Yeah.
Well, then let's tangentially take this one from Ziak, who asked this in chat. He said, do you guys think 100T honestly does have a motivation problem? Because I do notice we tend to step it up towards playoffs or when our team is being criticized. And that, I think, is connected to JLXP again, when Jat was bringing this up, that he thinks that the guys need to have a chip on their shoulder to play well, when maybe you would expect them to be able to always approach their practice and play with a certain intensity and seriousness. Go for it.
This reminded me of my take too, from my reaction to the last one. It's related to this too. I think there's actually something pretty interesting going on with the team. So it goes back to this conversation from last split around, we took some time, like we took our foot off the gas pedal a little bit. I do think that the team, the sense I'm getting is that they are less concerned about the results of an individual game than everyone else. And it almost feels weird to say that when
Yeah.
there are just not that many games in the split. Um, but this is starting to feel more consistent than not, which is I th- I think look, league is grueling, and I think the pro lifestyle is grueling, and a lot of the players don't really take time off, right? If you're not
Yeah.
scrimming or having a stage day, you're grinding solo queue. Like it's just a lot. It's a lot. And I don't think it's realistic to expect that a team or a player can play at that level consistently endlessly. It's not humanly possible. So what are your options? You either and I think I think all teams basically haven't figured this out. I'm not claiming that we have, but I think there's something interesting going on with us that I don't see other teams doing. Look, what's the average number of splits for a player to be on a team? It has to
Right.
be less than 3, right? And I don't know what the number actually is, but it's not a lot. Um, so the fact that we've had the same players now on one team, not just a player on a team, but the same 5 players on a team for now was 3. This is our 3rd split as the same squad, right? Um, that's pretty remarkable. That's very different. And what I think is going on is I think they're just playing the longer game. Like I think they realize, hey, look, guys, you don't have to win every game. You don't have to win every game to accomplish your objective here. We want to hang banners. We want to compete on the international stage. So we're going to do what we can to accomplish that. But that doesn't mean that if we lose to Dignitas 2 times out of 3 or 3 out of 4, whatever it ended up being, that we can't also accomplish our goal.
I don't think we beat them last split at all. I think
right. So, like maybe that's a little bit of what's going on here, which is we have to show up. We're committed to getting results for the organization. We are not going to burn you guys out in the next 2 splits and then churn through our next set of players. Like that's not the idea. That's kind of how it feels to me. Who knows if that's actually it? But when I hear stuff like they don't have the motivation to do what? Because we've been in, we hung a banner and we were in finals. So, I don't know what motivation we were lacking those 2 times. I mean, I guess you could say we didn't win the second finals, but it's hard to win every one you go to. So it's like on average, they have the right level of motivation. And maybe from week to week, it feels like this is lower than we would expect. But it's been fine, in a strange sense. It's literally been fine. And I think that's noteworthy.
Yeah. I think maybe the only thing I would add to this is a similar, which I think, by the way, you did great. Like, I don't want to like make any points that you made because that you did. I really like your opinion on that. But I would say it's similar to the question we had, I think, from Mont last week about Abbedagge and the Gucci photos and like losing motivation and just focused on the wrong things. I don't think it's generally productive to criticize a player's motivation, and doing so when you don't know what's in the player's head too is like especially off to me.
Yeah.
And I think it ends up making us look foolish more often than not. The player has gotten to where they've gotten, which you need to have like an unbelievable amount of motivation to do.
Right.
Okay. And I get the urge to criticize that because, like I said last week, it can feel annoying when someone's sucking to see them celebrating themselves on social media or whatever, right? Like it's like a player on your team is like, hey, you're actually like trash right now. So can we not use this week to be like, look how awesome my outfit is? Like I get that urge. And the same thing with motivation. It's rough to see people who are not performing well and then to not like see them being Kobe and getting in the gym at 4 a.m. or whatever.
Right.
Nevertheless, we're usually wrong about that. And I think in like 99% of cases, it's very unwise to question a player's motivation.
Yep.
In our case, questioning motivation of this team seems to just produce higher results anyway. So if you want us to get better, then, go ahead. So I think like what management of this team has showed over the past 2 splits is that it's cool, guys. We will get you there and we'll be in contender shape by the time we're there. So just have a little faith.
Yeah. Does that mean we're going to win every split? No,
of course not.
But
we're only going to win 80% of them.
Right. And that's frankly unacceptable, Cole. I just can't stomach that.
Oh, well, ask LeBron how he feels. I think we've got 2 more kind of topics, though. I'm gonna kind of combine 2 takes to each other. So Raleigh Davis said, "What needs to happen for Abbe to get back to his dominant play style? Better draft, meta shift, team strategy, mental reset. I like seeing him keep the CS gap close compared to previous weeks. Obviously, the TL game was not super playmaking heavy, but he came through and helped make it happen." And then JC on the other side of this. Well, maybe not on the other side, but kind of, viewing it a bit differently, says Abbedagge haters mysteriously absent this weekend, lurking in the shadows, waiting to pounce on him the next time he gets 3-man ganked 11 times, which is hilarious.
That's great.
And it feels to me that's what resonates and feels true. So I think with Raleigh Davis, asking about what needs to happen for him to get back, like, I think we just need to get there. I'm not particularly worried about him seeing the response to the slow start. If this is a blip on the radar for and then we go back to having like a rough 3 weeks, I might be frustrated, but I'm still going to be like fine going into playoffs. If the meta shifts, I feel like that's only going to improve things. I don't think I don't think that there's a downside to the meta shift as far as Abbedagge is concerned. And I think the team comes together with time. I just think this is what this team is. It's just like a take your time team and get ready for, when it's time to flip the switch. So I'm not calling for anything drastic or big when it comes to Abbedagge. I think he's going to be just fine.
Yeah. I would agree.
And then final question. This is a good one from Joseph Ferlenza, who says, "What does this team need to do to be able to beat EG in a series and have international success? Worlds last year, we were much more explosive as a team. Summer, we are slower, more methodical. Nobody is playing particularly bad, but it seems Ssumday paired with closer is still our best combo." So I think that it's like, we got clapped in finals versus EG.
Yep.
We don't appear to be drastically different as a team. But if we want to beat EG and then like thrive internationally, what changes need to happen, or what simply needs to fall in place for us to get there? Do you want to go first, or you want me to?
I'll just go first, and I'll say I think it does come back. Like, the most immediate thing is EG, and I think if we can have, this is basically just a repackaging what you said earlier. If Abbedagge can step up and play at the level that we know he can, I think we have, we can beat them on any given day in a best of 5.
And
like,
we have beaten EG in a best of 5 before. Let's not forget that.
Yeah. Were they the same? They were a different look.
It was Jizuke, right? During that time. But I like, the whole play around Danny thing. It's kind of been that way. I'm not like, EG just peaked incredibly well at exactly the right time and had a groundswell support, which made the victory look even better. I view it more as like a blip on our radar. Like, we dropped the ball for a bit, but I don't think like EG owns us or anything like that. I think if we get another best of 5 matchup, it's going to be very competitive, and we have as good of a shot to win it as they do.
Yeah.
So
I think if we are playing at the level. It's like we have to peak, or maybe not even peak, but we just can't be slumping.
Yes.
Which, like I don't think we have to necessarily be at sweeping TL levels to have a chance in the finals. But certainly we have to be playing above. Like EZ's really good. That was not a fluke. They're really good.
Mm-hmm.
And it will be hard to beat them if that's who we run into again. And I think that if we have Abbedagge performing at the level that he can, then we have a good chance.
Yeah. So said another way, I have a hard time feeling like EG can be better than when we last played them in finals.
Right. Yep.
And then honestly, I think it probably all revolves around Abbedagge. If Abbedagge plays, at 8.5 out of 10 on his, on his potential scale or above, I think we can beat EG in a series. And we got a glimpse of like greatness when we played at Worlds and beat EDG in a game that mattered to them because of seeding. It wasn't like a make or break game, but it mattered. Mm-hmm. And I think most importantly, as I've said before, that our own players saw that something like that is possible. And it's the same set of guys. And I think if you get this team to Worlds again, they are going to be very, very hungry because they don't want to leave anything on the table. I think they feel like they left something on the table last time, and they were in a group with T1 and EDG.
Right.
So, as long as we follow the same kind of trajectory as we have in the past two splits, I think it's very possible for us to do something like get out of groups at Worlds. So
yeah, and One Vision just said, if Abbe plays at an 8 out of 10, we can beat literally anyone. And oftentimes that word is not used literally, but this is true because we beat EDG. So I like to remind people periodically that this team can play at literally the highest level of World League of Legends at their very best. So this is not a different team. We haven't changed things where we'd say, well, if this person can do what he did, that's always a big reach. This isn't that. These are the same 5 guys who were there and who beat EDG. So can we beat Evil Geniuses? Yeah, for sure. Things have to happen right for us to do that, because obviously we couldn't last time we faced them, and that was post EDG too. But it's certainly possible.
Yeah. All right. Well, next week we don't have games. There's an off week. It is a break week, and we get to do something different, which we will be announcing later this week. But keep the normal pod time open, because there will be something to watch, and we will tell you more later this week. Following week, though, we play FlyQuest and CLG, both tied for 4th place at 4 and 3. CLG, white hot start, maybe, a little tougher in this past week. FlyQuest, I think, has looked very good and has just fumbled the bag at times. Mm-hmm. Where are we at with these? Do you think we take down FlyQuest? Flight check crew, you listening?
Yeah. Look, I think FlyQuest is looking good, and they've got a lot to be excited about. I'm happy for those guys for sure. I think we can beat them. I think it'll be close. And I wouldn't be shocked if we don't beat them, and nor will I say we should be cause for great concern. But I think we can. I think Ssumday could be the X factor again. I just think he's been feasting, and even if he gets Ornn duty, we've seen that doesn't mean that he can't take over a game, basically, once it gets to the crucial stages. So I'm gonna say it.
So you're gonna say it's a dub for us, right?
Yep.
I like it. Yeah, look, I don't mean to be dismissive about the Ssumday thing, especially because Philip has looked good at times. Mm-hmm. But it is Philip. And into Ssumday, so it's kind of hard for me to see that. Here's what I'll say. Like, again, FlyQuest has played very, very well. I guess I'm guilty of the same thing I was criticizing other people of when, it's like they don't give us our credit because we're not a heritage team. But to me, FlyQuest just strikes me as a team that's punching above their weight right now.
Yeah.
And Takui, I think, has been really good.
Yeah, I think
Jose
really good.
Deodo, I think, looks better in this split than he has probably to this point in LCS.
I mean, Johnson and Afro are a dangerous pair too. So
they are, but aren't they like the great value FBI Huhi at this point? I'm not saying they're bad. I'm not saying they're bad, but aren't they just kind of like a lesser version of it? Or maybe it's like we are the Lexus and they're the Toyota. Maybe that's a more respectful way to put it.
Tell me though that watching the Johnson games on Twitch, you didn't get bad Danny flashbacks,
Or watching, was it against C9 that they totally went off in that bot lane? Yeah. They looked incredible, but I don't think they're consistent enough to do that all the time. So FlyQuest strikes me as a very solid team, but they've been punching above their weight. And they tend to make mistakes in the second half of the game. Guess what? That's when we are literally the strongest team in the league. So
that's true.
I don't see them beating us, even though I want to be respectful of them and give them their credit. It doesn't seem in the cards to me. So then CLG, I guess they're also budget 100 Thieves with some of the players on their team. We have some intimate knowledge of them. Yeah, where are you going with them?
Smacked by TL. I think, unfortunately, I really like CLG. I will never root for them over us, obviously. I root for them when they're not playing against us.
Yeah, I think they're my second team to root for right now.
I think, unfortunately, they started hot and are cooling, and I think that cooling trend continues. I think we beat them.
Yeah. Again, not to be disrespectful, but it kind of feels similar. It's like, how far are you going to get with Dokla as your top laner, right? He may have his moments and stuff, but it's like, can he really keep it up long enough to keep CLG in that top 4? Yeah.
I'd love to see him.
Seems like a lot. Luger and Poom I love and will always love, and they look good at times, but they definitely have their weaknesses too. And then Contracts is kind of a roll of the dice sometimes with how he plays, because it's an all or nothing kind of proposition when he plays. So I think, assuming that this off week doesn't totally throw off our rhythm and our preparation, I'm still feeling heavily in our favor for CLG, more so than against FlyQuest, for instance. So I guess we're both going to go 2-0 for 2 weekends from now.
Yep.
And that's a good place to be.
And I'm not backing away from my 2-0, but I could absolutely see, I think if FlyQuest is going to beat us, I think Tukui would have a great game, and the Johnson Afro show just continues. And then for CLG, I think if they're going to beat us, it's got to be, actually, I don't know. I feel like, this is what it would be.
It's got to be. No, they're not going to beat us.
No, it's not. No, it would be something very meta forward, right? Mm-hmm. I think that would have to be
Bongo comp returns, right?
Exactly.
Something like that. And you know what? With what we drafted against Immortals, it's like, I don't feel like that's really going to happen either.
Yeah.
It felt, we got, our comp felt more forward thinking, than like Immortals, for instance. Immortals, Gwen, Volibear, Victor, Zeri, Nautilus, that's like a last split comp, We had a Kali, Wukong, Corki, Jinx, Renata. It's like not totally the newest and greatest of everything, but solidly in the present moment.
Yeah.
So
they're gonna bring out the Zach. They're gonna have, who was it? I saw some wild support pick recently. Do you remember that game?
Oh, what was it? Yes.
It was it wasn't just a marksman, like a straight.
What was it? I can't remember. Yeah, and we've also seen Swain played in support.
Yes,
but it was. I'm thinking of a different. Excuse me. I'm thinking of a different one.
Yeah.
Where I was like, wait, what? That's big. But yeah. Anyway.
Yasuo. That's what it was. It Ole on Yasuo?
Oh gosh, I don't want to spend our time looking it up, but
thanks, Andres. Yeah.
Anyway, 2-0.
That was wild. 2-0.
Book it. All right. Prophets have spoken.
Oh, the prophets have been promoted.
All right. So let's again keep your weekly 100 Talk appointment open for Monday night. I think in a couple of days we'll say what we're doing. And I'm very excited about it. It's something we have not done before. It's something that it's probably going to be a little crazy, a little out of control, but it should be a lot of fun. So very much looking forward to it.
Subathon. Here we go.
Oh, not that 24-hour subathon. I'm just gonna leave the stream up and it's gonna look like this.
But the sounds of your family in the background, you know.
Trust me, guys, I'm sleeping right now. Anyway, okay, so that'll do it for us. And as always, we say we love you and we miss you all.